Hello, I'm Sophia.
And hey, I'm Kristin, and we are
Under the Barbell.
Over the Bullshit.
And we're a podcast for women who are sick of being told to just eat less, move more, and what they really want is to get strong, take up space, feel confident, and age well.
That's what we're all about, empowering women to live for more than a before and after photo.
So, wherever you are, grab a coffee or a pre-workout and hit play, because your anti-diet culture BFFs have arrived.
What's up, you Bob Bam? How's it going? We're gonna jump right into it. So today is going to be a very special bonus episode for all y'all today. I'm gonna let Kristin get into it, but this month is is it breast cancer awareness or just cancer in general? Okay, that's what I thought. Breast cancer awareness. And if you didn't know, if you didn't listen to her, a little bit of her story in our first like one or two episodes, she talks a little bit about that, but she's going to really dive into her story and kind of some awareness things and a whole lot more with that. So I'm just going to let you take it away, share away, and I'll probably maybe jump in from time to time to ask questions or say anything or, whatever it is. But today we're going to listen to Kristin's story, and I'm pumped.
All right. Thank you. So for those that don't know, I've mentioned it probably in almost every episode just because it's like life. But I just fairly recently completed breast cancer treatment. I was diagnosed the end of last year, the end of 2024, and I'll get into all that. And then I finished treatment on March 13th was when I officially rang the bell. It's one of those things where it's not over, it continues, shit continues. And that's actually one of the really big, I guess, points or in terms of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I really had to think a lot about how this is my first Breast Cancer Awareness Month since my diagnosis. And I wasn't sure how I wanted to approach it. Do I want to just live life? Do I want to participate in the awareness? I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. I was afraid that seeing all the pink stuff everywhere was going to be re-traumatizing, So I decided that in order for me to not dwell on the negatives and all that I needed to do something positive with it. And I decided that sort of my angle, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, of awareness was going to come from the cancer survivor's perspective, because I think that that's not really talked about a whole ton. A lot of people are just like, oh, treatment's over, so whatever, but that's really not the case at all. And we hear in awareness, we always hear about treatments. We hear about new research coming out, which is amazing. We donate for new research and all this, the stuff that's coming out in science and FDA approvals and all this stuff, which is amazing and incredible. And I'm so thankful for, because that's what helped me get through treatment and whatever, and get to be here now. But I think there's so much of that the survivors kind of get lost a little bit. And so that's why I decided that I kind of wanted to make that my focus. But in order to get there, I guess I have to start from the beginning. So the second big point that I really want to make is go get your mammogram. Go get your mammogram. In the United States, starting at age 40, we are supposed to be getting annual mammograms, just like we are supposed to all along have been getting annual pap smears and, all the other preventative testing and whatever that we do. At age 40 is when we're supposed to start doing that. And unfortunately, the statistic is that 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. So 12.5% of women. That's honestly insane. That's such an outrageous number to me. And I've seen a lot of people, even in my cancer group, say, I don't believe that. That's too high of a number. I don't know that many people. But I know that a lot of women, particularly if it's been a while, they just don't talk about it. So I learned when I was diagnosed that people that I'd known for years messaged me and was supportive and telling me, oh, I'm in this club too, whatever. I had no idea. So I think a lot of people just don't talk about it. It's like I said, especially if it's been 15, 20 years. You don't even know. So I think a lot of people in our lives have been impacted by this, and we maybe just don't even realize it. And so 1 in 8 to me is an absolutely outrageous number. However, I don't have this specific number here. I meant to look it up and I forgot, but the survival rate has increased exponentially in the last several decades, and no longer is breast cancer a guaranteed life sentence or whatever you want to call it, and death sentence. I guess it is life sentence. It's no longer a guaranteed death sentence, and even stage 4 breast cancer, which is the like in stages it goes 1 through 4. 4 is when it moves from the breast to other parts of your body. So it metastasizes to a lot of times breast cancer will go to the brain. A lot of times it goes to lungs. So at that point, it's stage 4. And it used to be that even with stage 4, it was like, oh, like, I remember even myself hearing when I'd hear someone has stage 4, I would be like, oh, that's, that's not good, like whatever. But that's also really not the case anymore. I've met several people along this journey who are diagnosed stage 4 and are, because thanks to treatments and whatever, are now, they call it NED. It's no evidence of disease. And so when they run their tests, they're NED, and they have to continue on with medications and treatments and whatever, but go off and live your life now. Like even stage 4 no longer is necessarily a death sentence. And that's pretty freaking incredible. And so simultaneously, 1 in 8 is a whole lot of people. But at the same time, we've come so far in treatment and in detection and everything else that there's a lot of really good news with that too, I guess, as weird as that sounds. Breast cancer is the leading cause of death of women in their 40s. And with that said, like I just got done saying how it's, treatment has come so far, but it is the leading cause of death of women in their 40s. And mammograms start at 40.
Question.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it and maybe you're going to get to this, but is it the leading cause because of the fact that they don't get mammograms and they check it way late when it's maybe already stage 4 or like later in its stage, and that's why, and then they're too far behind with it and they can't then get like rid of it? Is that right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So more and more that women are, we're seeing that these statistics of women being diagnosed before 40, in their 30s, even in their 20s, those numbers are increasing quite a bit.
So if we're not 40, should we be getting mammograms?
I mean, your insurance probably won't pay for it, but you can.
Yeah, I don't have insurance
so
right now.
if you have, girl, get insurance.
Eliana is supposed to get on her insurance, but we have I don't know, she has to do something on her end, I think. But yeah, okay. So
yeah,
mammogram in any age we can get that.
So yeah, you can get one at any age. You would pay out of pocket. By 40, it's recommended every year. Especially if you have risk factors. And I'm going to get into risk factors in a minute. But I know particularly like women who had, like if there's a lot of family history, for example, sometimes their doctors will tell them, I want you to start at 30 or 35 or whatever, because you do have this family history. You can also get genetic testing done to see if you carry the gene. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about in a minute is only less than 10% of breast cancers are hereditary. I was always under the impression before I was diagnosed that was like the leading risk factor, and that most people who get it, it's hereditary and they have a family history of it. It's less than 10%. So part of, to answer your question from before, part of it is that things are not being, because mammograms, most people don't start until they're 40. We can do self-checks and self-exams and whatnot, but you can't always feel it. I couldn't feel mine. And so that isn't necessarily foolproof. A lot of times it is found through self-exams, and even your doctor, if you go to your OBGYN, usually your doctor will do like a clinical exam and sometimes they'll feel it. But because we're not getting checked at an earlier age, that's exactly what you said. It isn't getting caught until it's already been growing for X number of years. And so by that point, it becomes a lot harder to treat and a lot harder to control. Sometimes it's spread at that point and things like that. So all that to say, I did not get my first mammogram until I was 45. 2 reasons. One, because like I said a minute ago, I thought it was mostly family history. I have no family history of cancer in my family at all. Like not just breast cancer, but any kind of cancer at all in my family that I'm aware of. And so I'm like, oh, I have no family history. I'm fine. I do my self exams. I check myself in the shower and whatnot pretty regularly. Never, never felt anything. I'm fine. And then add on top of that, a lot of women really like make horror stories out of mammograms. Like, I don't know if you've ever like heard it, but people go, oh, it hurts so bad. They smashed your boob. They this and that. Honestly, people kind of scared me from it. And I was like, I don't have any family history. I do self exams. I don't want to go do this thing that's going to hurt. So I just didn't.
Mm.
Sorry, my dog just jumped off of me. And so I kept putting it off. My doctor kept telling me, like, you need to go do this. My OBGYN every year when I would go in, she's like, you got to go. So every year, every January, I pick a word of the year that's like a word that I want to like live out in that year. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so the word that I chose in 2024, which I guess it's technically 2 words, was get uncomfortable. And I wanted to do things. I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone more. I wanted to do things that I maybe wouldn't otherwise do, both professionally, personally. I took a pole dancing class at one point in 2024. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like I just wanted to do things. I wanted to challenge myself to do things that may be uncomfortable and see what came of it, and part of get uncomfortable was 1, find a therapist, and 2 was get my mammogram. Those were like the 2 big things on that list that I went into 2024 like, okay, we got to do this. So I kept
because of your words for the year. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like,
And I really try hard to like keep those words. Like this year, my word is peace. And so I try really hard to just not inject myself into internet arguments and comment sections and, sometimes I will sometimes like type out a big rant and I'll be like, no, this is not bringing me peace. Just delete it and walk away. Like the responses and stuff that are going to keep coming from this and coming up in my notifications just aren't worth it. And I've like unfollowed or muted a lot of people and a lot of accounts that weren't bringing me peace. So I really try hard every year to like live out whatever the word is. And so finally, I was talking to my clients about this. Like they knew that I hadn't gone and I need to go. And my one client, I'm sure I can say her name. I don't think she'll mind. I won't say her last name. My one client, Cindy, also needed to schedule one. And so we made it a deal where we were basically just going to keep texting each other. Hey, did you schedule yours yet? No. Did you schedule? And so we were like basically going to harass each other into scheduling our mammograms,
Nice.
And so I finally did. And that was in July, sometime in July. I don't remember exactly, middle of July somewhere. I finally made that appointment. And in fact, the biggest reason I went was because I was just starting on hormone replacement therapy. And I needed, because a lot of breast cancers can be hormone fed, I wanted to make sure that the mammogram was done before I was using hormone replacement therapy. So, and then she, like I said, Cindy and I, were harassing each other about it. And so I made my appointment, and my appointment was only like 2 days or 3 days after I started the hormone replacement therapy. So definitely my cancer was not caused by that. A lot of people say that it can cause cancer. That's not really actually proven. So mine was not. I had only been on a couple of days, and I would have had cancer long before that. And so I went, and I remember the lady. I was talking to the lady who was doing it. She was very nice. She was even telling me, this is going to be uncomfortable, but whatever. And I'm like, it's okay. Just, I have a high pain tolerance. Just bring it. And it wasn't comfortable. Like nobody's like, oh, please smash my boobs in between 2 hard plates as hard as you can. Like no one's like, I want that. But it really was not nearly as bad as people have built it up to be. Do not let that fear keep you from getting a mammogram. It's not great, but neither is a pap smear, and neither is a lot of other things that we do for our health. Worth it. In the long run, it's worth it. Just go. So I went, and I told the lady how, I'm 45. This is my very first one. And I felt like I needed to, how can I be a women's health coach if I am not doing women's health things for myself? Like I'm not setting the example that I felt like I should have been setting. And like, I need to rectify this. I got to go. So I'm telling her all this and whatever. And she said to me, or towards the end, she said, just so you know, you're probably going to get a letter in the mail that's going to ask you to come back to us because you have very dense breast tissue. And I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? And it basically means exactly what it sounds like. And apparently about 50% of women over 40 at least, do have very dense breast tissue. And basically what that means is tumors and things like that can kind of be hidden a lot more. It's a lot harder to see the tumors and the things in the mammogram. And also it is just like a risk factor where it can grow more, I guess. So she was like, but it's very normal. Like everyone who has dense tissue always has to come back. I don't want you to panic, whatever. And I'm like, okay. Like, again, I don't have family history, I don't whatever. I'm fine. So I go home. I do get that letter about a week later. And I'm like, yeah. All right. And it said like I had to can't schedule it through my doctor. And I hadn't been to my OBGYN in about 2 years because I had taken myself off of birth control like a couple of years ago. And honestly, that was the one thing that had me going back because I just needed my refill. So that's what kept me making that appointment every year. And I just hadn't made it. And so I was like, all right, yeah, I'll get around to it eventually. And that was, like I said, July, August, September. One of my other clients, Amanda, was like, because she and I have the same OBGYN. And she was like, have you called Dr. B yet? And I'm like, no. Every time I think of it, they're closed because they close half day on Fridays, and Fridays tend to be the day where I can get the most stuff done. I don't see clients in person on Friday. And I was like, every time I think of it, they're already closed. I haven't made it. And so she was texting me. She's like, will you please just call her? I'm like, fine, I'll call her. And so I call. So like, thank God for my clients because they are the ones, man. I'm going to cry every time I talk about them. In that sense, I get emotional because what if?
Yeah.
You know, what if they didn't?
Yeah.
What if I didn't have them?
Right. And if they weren't getting on you about it, you probably wouldn't have made that appointment ever.
No, probably not. I would have kept putting it off. And so, I finally made the appointment and they were like, we have to reestablish you as basically as a new client because it had been several years, 2 or 3 years since I'd been there. And so that took longer. So I didn't get that appointment now until October. So it was like over a month before I could make it in there. And so I went in, we did all the things. She did like the clinical exam and she didn't feel anything. And I didn't realize that we were looking for something. So I thought it was just like that lady said, you just have dense tissue, whatever. I had no idea something was actually seen in that first mammogram. And I'm in with Dr. B and she, we do the whole appointment, whatever. And so she goes to the little, the receptionist window thingy there at the desk. And she's telling them, okay, like I need you to call, like, cause they call them like, well, pre-authorized, like things like the follow-up mammograms and all that stuff. So she's like, we have to call this. And she's like, I felt it. I didn't feel anything, but we're just going to send her just to be sure. And I was like, what do you mean you didn't feel anything? Like that was kind of my first like moment of there's something to feel. Like I had no clue. So I go and they make that appointment. I also needed to get a uterine ultrasound too because I was on HRT. They keep track of the thickness of your uterus to make sure because sometimes the hormones can change that and whatever, and that can lead to higher risk of cervical cancer. So I went and I was like, I need my follow-up mammogram and I need this uterine ultrasound all at the same time. So it was gonna be a very long day of me sitting in this radiology office, but whatever, just do it. I did it on a Monday. It's my day off. And it was the day before election day. So it was November, I want to say like 2nd or 3rd, whatever was the day before election day. And I went and now remember, the first one was in July. I go in, the lady remembered me. She said, you were in this summer and it was your very first mammogram, wasn't it? And I said, yeah. And that was like another red flag in my head. I'm like, why the hell would she have remembered me all these months later? I mean, I did talk to her. I talked to everybody, but she knew. She knew.
Yeah.
And
why don't they call you then? Why that kind of makes me mad. Why didn't they follow up?
They're not allowed. Only doctors can do that. Because they're
only
not doctors. Your doctor has to do that.
Well, why didn't your doctor then do that?
They say they called and left a voicemail. I never saw it. However, I am very bad about voicemails, so maybe I don't know.
Keep calling, send mail.
Right? Do something. Yeah.
This is getting me Jump right now.
So
Fuck.
yeah, so she was like, oh, and so again, like that's another red flag. I'm like, hold up, what? So she does it, and it was still a mammogram, like the same kind I had before, but they had me kind of at different angles and stuff, like just trying to like see it from a different perspective because of the dense tissue. They were trying to get different angles of it to see through it better. And so she said, okay, let me go check and see if these ones are good. So she went and talked to like I guess like the head radiologist person or whatever, took a look. And she's like, okay, they want me to get one more. I'm really going to have to squeeze. I'm so sorry. I'm like, that's fine. Just do it, you know? So she does it. And then she's like, okay, I think we got it. I'm going to take this up to him. She's like, just sit out here because a lot of times when you have dense tissue, the mammograms aren't enough. We have to do an ultrasound because they can see a little better, I guess. So I was like, okay, fine. So I'm sitting out on this bench right outside the ultrasound room. And the lady comes out and she calls my name. She's like, yeah, we need to get an ultrasound. I'm like, all right, cool. So I go in there and my tumor is on the left breast. So I'm laying on my right side, like with my arm kind of up over my head, and she's doing the ultrasound. And so the way I'm facing the screen is right in front of me. Like I'm just looking at it and she's going and she's like, oh, there it is. And I could fucking see it plain as day. And I still remember just staring at it and I was like, what is that? And she was like, well, that's what we need to find out. And I'm like, it
Okay,
was
time out.
blindside.
She's so nonchalant about it. Like, why not start early on in the process, be explaining these things? Like,
Well, because they don't know. In the ultrasound,
so?
it
I'd be
could
like,
have just been a cyst. It could have been like, she's like, we need to find out what it is. Like,
well,
that's
why
the
not
whole
tell her
point of
that's not what you're
this.
not blindsided? Like, at least being
Yeah.
like, hey, it's a little like, we're doing this because there's maybe something there potentially. It could be a cyst, it could be nothing, it
Yeah.
could be easy. To at least like prepare you a little bit and
Yeah.
along the way being
No.
like, okay, here's what we're looking for, and not just like, oh, there it is. Like, oh, there she
Yeah.
is. A nice little pretty flower in your boob.
Right?
What?
I mean, maybe she thought I already knew. I don't know, because this was now this wasn't the
I
same lady.
mean,
Like the
okay, I
ultrasound
guess,
lady was different than the mammogram lady.
yeah.
And so I'm like, maybe she thought I don't know. And she was just like, oh, found it, and I was like, what is that? And like she said, well, that's what we're gonna find out. And I'm like, okay. And I'm watching her and she was doing like taking measurements of it and typing all this shit in and like going around the side, whatever, up, down, all around, trying to get different angles and different views of it, snapping pictures of it on the ultrasound thing. And she's like, okay. And so she had to do the same thing. Like, let me take it to whoever the head person is to take a look at it. And I'm sitting there and there was a student in there at the time, like observing the lady that was doing the ultrasound. And that the student was just there. So I'm just sitting there having a conversation. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do now. I'm just literally sitting there with like this cape on and nothing else. And I'm like just talking to this person. And it took honestly, it was like 10 full minutes, which felt really long. And she finally came back and she was like, okay, we've got everything you need. And she said it like her tone of voice changed. When I was talking to her while she was doing it, it was just very conversational. But when she came back in, it was, okay, sweetie, we've got everything. Go ahead and get dressed. And then, your doctor might reach out to you. Like kind of very casual because again, she's not allowed. She's not a doctor. She can't make that call. And I was like, okay. And I get dressed and I go home. And I remember telling my husband that night, like, I guess everything is okay. And I also did the uterine ultrasound too, which is neither here nor there. So I was like, I don't know. I was like, it was weird that lady remembered me. And then there was definitely something on the screen. I saw it with my own eyes, but no one said anything. So I guess it's all right. But like the way she was talking to me was very like suddenly compassionate. You know what I mean? And I was like, I don't know. I guess I just wait and see what the doctor says. Like, I don't know what to do, but it was definitely on my radar that something wasn't right.
Yeah.
And I have a really bad habit of keeping my phone on Do Not Disturb for all of life. That's part of peace, my word of the year. And I didn't even occur to me that I should not be on Do Not Disturb because I might be getting a phone call. So Thursday comes around. I am just about to get into the shower and my phone does ring. And it said something like on the caller ID on my phone, it said something breast center or something. And I'm like, oh, and I did just get a mammogram a couple of days ago, so let me answer this. And so I answer it, and she was like, hey, Kristin, Dr. B sent us your whatever your file. We need to go ahead and schedule your biopsy. And I like choked on my own spit. I was like, my what? And she was like, oh, did they not tell you? And I was like, I no. And again, it was a voicemail that I did find later that I didn't check because I kept my phone on do not disturb. They couldn't get through. And they did leave me a voicemail. I didn't check it. So they did the right thing. I didn't.
Fine.
But that poor lady, she was like, oh, and like she was like panicking because now this poor sweet woman just trying to schedule an appointment is the one that has to tell me that I need a
Mhm.
biopsy. And
Okay, they should make sure that they talk to you first and like keep
yeah,
calling, like not just a call, leave one voicemail, like
yeah,
at
I
least do
don't know, man.
like a 3-time thing before
Right.
you have the person call for an appointment. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I felt bad for her too because I was just like, I'm sorry, what? And so she explained it, and I said, okay, well, what all is involved in this? And she explained the process because I needed to know, like, am I going to be able to go see clients later? Like, when do I schedule this? What am I going to have to do in this biopsy to know when to schedule it? So she tells me it was a fairly quick type of thing, not a lot afterwards. I did have to keep an ice pack on my boob for like 24 hours. The process,
what is it? What
it's
is the biopsy? Like, what is like? I mean, I heard the word, but like, what is
yeah.
it exactly? What do they do?
So for for a breast biopsy anyway, I'm assuming most of them are kind of the exact same idea, but I basically go in and I just had to lay there and I'm like have like, you have to stretch your breast tissue out and whatever. And she used an ultrasound machine, and she found it, and so we're looking at it on the screen over here, and she's looking at it and she's like, she's like, I don't think, oh, so hold on, let me back up. We go into this appointment now. From the moment that appointment was scheduled, instantly you start like the feeling is like an out of body experience. It's like you're floating over yourself because you're like, oh my God, like this can't be real. You know what I mean? And even my husband, like he says that he had the exact same feeling. Like we didn't know what the hell. We did not tell my son yet because we needed information before we told him anything. And a lot of times women do get called for biopsies. This is probably a really good point to make. A lot of times they do get called for a biopsy that ends up being benign, completely nothing to worry about. And more often than not, it is benign. And so it's like, I'm not saying anything to my son. I don't want him to worry unnecessarily. It might be nothing and we don't want to worry about it. So we go in and we sit down and we get called back to the actual office from the waiting room. And my surgeon, honest to God, is like the most amazing human on earth. Still to this day, I stand by that. And she was very compassionate, but also very blunt, which I appreciate. Like she was very
Yeah.
direct and very like, this is what's going on. And she said, so, I got the images from your mammogram and your ultrasound. And based on what the radiation, because the doctor, they don't know how to read those images necessarily. Like they're not an ultrasound tech, And so they bank on what the radiation person, the head radiologist or whatever, not radiation, radiologist is saying. And the head radiologist had labeled it a 5 out of 5 likelihood of being cancer. And so she tells me that. So I didn't know that yet. She tells me that. And she said, so she's like, the likelihood is that this is cancer. She said, but we have to do the biopsy. We have to know exactly what we're dealing with. And that again was just like, I don't know what words describe hearing that. You know
Oh,
what
I
I
mean,
mean? Like
there's no words to
it
describe
was
that, I'm sure.
just so you're just going through the motions at that point. Like I couldn't cry, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even think of questions I might want to ask her. It was just shock.
Yeah.
And so I get up on it. She gives me the gown thing to put on. So I get changed. I put the gown on and I'm sitting there. And so she comes in and she's doing the ultrasound on it. And we're both looking at it on the screen off to the side. And she's like, she's like, I don't know that I agree with the radiologist. She's like, this doesn't really look like cancer to me. And I'm like, great. If that's good
Yeah.
news. And she said, if it is, it's very, very, very early. And that was like the best thing she could have said to me because it was like
Yeah.
such a like, whew, And
Yeah.
it was kind of in that moment where, because up until that point, I'm literally in my head asking if I basically had killed myself by not getting my mammogram sooner, by putting it off until I was 45. Like, even from the moment the biopsy was scheduled, I was like, oh my God, like, has this thing been growing in me for 5 or more years and I didn't even know?
Dude, that's
Because
what I'm
I
worried about right
never,
now. Yeah.
yeah.
Like for
And
any kind of cancer or
yeah,
anything really.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
When she said if it is cancer, it's very, very early, it was like, oh my God. Like, it was a weight off of me to not feel like I killed myself, you know? And I was like, okay, if it's early, like, we can do this, we can fight this. And then I started, like, I turned to this very, like, kind of positive side. Like, I am strong. Like, I have been spending years lifting weights, powerlifting, eating well, all these things. Like, my body is strong, my mind is strong, because powerlifting makes you have to have a strong mind to do what you do in powerlifting. And so I was just I kept, like, kind of falling back in my mind about, like, all of my competitions and all of my whatevers and all the things that I've done that I never thought I could do. And I did do it. And I can do this. Like, it was very, like, I'm, like, hyping myself up in my head at that point. And that maybe is another big point. Like, I have, since this whole experience, like, that is the one of the biggest things that I feel like I want every woman to feel. Like, I want every woman to have that peace of mind when they hear the worst news of their life. I want them to have that feeling of, I am strong, I can do this, my body is ready for this. Like,
Mhm.
you have to, what is that phrase? You have to stay ready so that you don't ever have to get ready. I want
Yeah.
everybody building that strong body now. I want people eating well now. I want all the things now, because you never, ever, ever, ever know when you're going to get the diagnosis, when you're going to have an accident, when you're going to have to take care of a sick family. Like, you never know. Like,
Yeah.
life is crazy. And so I just, like, I've made it sort of my personal mission to, like, I want every woman to have that same peace of mind that I felt sitting in that biopsy chair getting ready to have this giant ass needle stuck into my boob. So all of that was going through my head when she's saying this. So she comes over, and the biopsy itself, it was a very long ass needle. I tried to not look directly at it too
I would
much.
not be able to look at that.
Needles don't bother me a lot. I just don't want to see it. Like, when I get IVs, I just look the other way. And
Yeah.
so I just didn't want to see it. But you were using the nurse or whoever it was had the ultrasound wand, like, right on the spot, so we were still able to see it in the screen. So I was looking at that. Like, you could see everything happening in the screen. I didn't want to see it, like, in real life, like, happening right on my body. So they take this needle, and it's long, and it's almost like a tube. And so basically what it is it goes in and it grabs the, like, material inside the tumor. And it's, like, kind of serrated, like a serrated knife, it has, like, jaggedy edges that grab that, like, whatever stuff. I don't know what it is, the parts of the inside of that tumor, and it pulls it out so then it can be taken to be tested. And so it was a loud ass click that scared the hell out of me, but she did that. And it bled a little. It wasn't too bad, but she, like, antiseptic or whatever, cleaned it all up. I got bandage, I got all the ice packs, and I'm all wrapped and whatever. And that was the end of that. It was, I'm very much simplifying it and very much skipping a lot of things. It was, it was traumatizing. Like, I don't want to sugarcoat how awful the entire experience was.
Yeah.
But it was fairly quick. It was not super painful. They did numb it. After, like, 3-4 days, it bruised so horribly. It was, like, black
Oh.
and purple. It did not look pretty. And it was very swollen and irritated for a while. So even I kept an ice pack on it for about 24 hours. But then even after that, I was still kind of sporadically putting ice on it and things, because it would get swollen and irritated. And so that was on, like, I don't know, like a Tuesday or something. And she's like, hopefully we'll get the results by Friday. We might not get them though until Monday. And I'm like, man, I'm not trying to go through a weekend. Like, come on, Friday. So it did come Friday. She calls and she's like, we have good news. It turns out it was benign. But because the radiologist rated it so high, I think we want to go in and do a lumpectomy and just remove it anyway, just to make sure, to eliminate any possibility of anything. And I'm like, okay. And so my first question is, like, okay, well, how long until I can lift after this surgery? Like I have, because I had signed up to compete at the Arnold Classic up in Columbus that February.
Oh, seriously?
Yes. And so that's all, honestly, that's all I was thinking of. I'm like, I don't want this to derail me going to the Arnold. Like, this has been a dream, I want to go do this. And so I was like, because we were also deciding, should we put this surgery off? Like, it came back benign. So we could put it off if we want to, or we can just get it over with. And I was like, and so she was like, you'll probably be out for just a couple of weeks. It's a pretty quick recovery. It won't be a big deal, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just get it over with. I don't want to be thinking all the time, like maybe there's something in me that's bad.
Yeah.
So we go ahead and we schedule it for early December. And that was on a Wednesday. She always does her surgeries on Wednesdays. On that Monday, I was at the salon getting my blonde redone, which needs to be done again. And my phone rings and it's my surgeon. And I was sitting there with the foils in my hair and everything, just sitting there letting it process. And I'm like, hello? Like, why are you calling me 2 days before surgery? And she said, so I just talked to the radiologist at the place where I got it done. And she said, there is some concern that the lump that we biopsied is not the lump that they saw in your mammogram.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So I'm over here like, okay, we're good to go. I'm not excited about having surgery, but at least it's not cancer. Okay, we're great. And then all of a sudden, with foils in my hair in the middle of a salon, I'm like, she's like, yeah, she said, so we need you to come in tomorrow, which would have been Tuesday. Remember, surgery's Wednesday. We need you to come in tomorrow for another mammogram, because when they do the biopsy, another thing that they do is they put it's called a clip. It's just like a little metal thing that they put in it, so that in any future mammograms, it'll be like basically marked like, oh, hey, we've already looked at this. This is okay, type of a thing.
Yeah.
And she said, so we need you to come in and get another mammogram because we need to see if what they saw is the one that has the clip in it. So it's like, talk about like wind out of the sails. You know what I mean? So I mean, like, okay, so I go in on the next day and I'm like totally freaking out, losing my shit here. And they do the mammogram. I sit there and they read the results immediately, like while I was there. And the nurse pulls me back into another, she pulls me back into another room and she's like, sorry. She's like, but what we think is cancer is not what got biopsied. And so it turned out that apparently the woman who did the ultrasound found a second lump that we didn't even know was there because of my dense tissue. It wasn't able to be seen on the mammogram. And she thought that that was the same thing. Like, apparently she just did. I don't know how they know where exactly on your breast to look. So I don't know if there's like some instructions she didn't follow. I don't know what it was, but I do know that my surgeon let him have it. She didn't tell me, but she has said things to me since then about, I took care of that, don't worry. And I'm like, oh God, did like someone lose their job over this? Or I don't know. But yeah. So she said, so we need to do another biopsy. And she's like, surgery's canceled. You're not going into surgery tomorrow. Instead, we need you to come back and do another biopsy on this correct spot. So they sent me home to eat lunch because I'd already been there for a very long time because they were waiting to read the mammogram and all that. And she's like, go home and eat, but we need you to come back. We have to do an ultrasound before we can do the biopsy tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. So I went and ate. I came home and just sobbed. This was Thanksgiving week now. The Tuesday before Thanksgiving's Thursday. This was on Tuesday. And so my son was home all week for school. Like, they just have the whole week of Thanksgiving off. And we had already told him because it was benign. And we at least want to be like, hey, mom's having surgery, but there's nothing to be worried about. Everything's fine. And so as far as he knew, everything was fine. I come home and I just like lost it. And I was like, I cannot freaking believe this is happening. It's been such a roller coaster of, oh no, you just have dense tissue. You're fine. Oh wait, actually there's something there. Uh-oh, we're pretty sure you have cancer. Oh no, I don't think you have cancer. Oh great, biopsy's clean. You don't have cancer. Oops, wrong one. Yep, actually you do have cancer. Like, this was the whole month of November for me. And so I just, at this point, like, he was here. And so he was living it all in real time. So at this point, we were telling him everything. He was 15 at the time. So like, he's old enough to, process the stuff. And so I eat, I go back, I get my shit together, I go back, and the ultrasound tech lady was great. She was amazing. And this is in a different place now. This is all in the actual hospital, whereas before it was like in a separate radiology thing. She's doing it, and she literally had like they put the little ultrasound one thingy right on it. We can see it on the screen. She was using her thumb and pushing in on the spot trying to find it. She still couldn't feel it. So that's like my big thing of don't count on your self exams to find any lumps, because and mine was also very up. It was like kind of half under the nipple and half off to the side. And so it was very close to the surface. Should have been able to feel it, couldn't feel it. I actually have a statistic here somewhere about that. It was, I don't know, maybe I'll come across it as I skim my notes later, but there was something about a percentage of that can't be felt. And things you want to
Oh,
look
yeah,
for.
we should find that. We should find that. So, a percentage that can't be felt when you do, like, your self-exam?
Yeah,
Oh my
like
god, find that
what
right now.
what percentage of cancers, of things that end up being cancer that were never felt.
Yeah.
Okay, I have it in here too. So let me see if I can. I know I wrote it down. So, okay, 10%, only about 10% have a hereditary link. And just knowing your body, because a lot of these can't be felt. And once I find the exact number, then I will tell you. But what to look for, though, things to look for. And so it's not just feeling your body, but knowing, like really
Mm.
looking at your body and knowing your body. Like every bump, every crater, everything. And some of the things to look for, obviously any lumps, and it's got to be a lump that doesn't go away. If you feel something and then it goes away and then maybe comes back, that's probably cancer. Doesn't go away and come back.
Are we talking, like,
So
just breast right now?
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
this might apply to other things, so I don't know. I can't speak to other cancers, so it may be the same
I
thing.
have something that is, like, right here.
So like,
It's been here for maybe, like, 2 weeks now. You won't be able to see it through the
oh, it's
camera,
like
but
on the
it's like a little
front of your ear.
it's, like, right yeah, it's just like a little bump, and it's, like, inside. My wax lady, I had her look at it, and she's like, "Oh," she thought maybe it was, like, a cyst. She's
Mm,
like, "Probably go to the ER for, like, urgent care for that." I'm like, "Oh, fuck." But,
that's
yeah,
not what you
anyway,
want to
so
hear.
what? I know. I was like, "Okay." Yeah, so this is if that yeah, I probably need to go get that checked out, but when you said that, that made me it
Yeah.
reminded me of that.
Yeah, and that like sometimes people will feel something and then like they don't feel it again in a week. And then maybe in a month it comes back or whatever and people start to panic. That's probably not cancer. Cancer doesn't go away and come back like that. And that's one thing that has made even in survivorship that I had to like really get very clear on with my doctor. Like I asked a lot of questions. Like, how do I know if maybe it's spread? Like what
Yeah.
signs am I looking for? And because a lot of times it does spread to the brain, breast cancer does, it's things like headaches. But she's like, it's going to be a headache that doesn't go away. She's like, if you get a headache and you have it for a while and then it's gone for a few days and you get another one, that's not going to be cancer. That's going to be something that if it doesn't go away, then that's what you want to look for. And then also, as far as on the breast, like any dimpling of your skin, like if it seems like it's kind of sinking in a little bit, like you're getting dimples where you didn't have them before, hot or red, like patches on anywhere on the breast.
What about when you're okay, so, like, when you said, like, the, dimples or whatever, is that, like, when you're just standing? Is it when you're laying down? Is it, like, any like, what is that?
Yeah, good question. So when you do a self exam, you should be doing them like multiple ways. So laying down with the side that you're working, you want that arm to be up because you want to stretch that breast tissue as much as you can.
Yeah.
And then you use the three fingers, like your three main fingers and the pads of your three fingers, and you just do like circular motions all around and look
Okay,
for it.
yeah.
And so laying down, but also just standing up and looking at yourself in the mirror, like just right like that. And then also in the shower is another one where they say to do it. And same thing, up arm up over your head and doing the same deal like you would do laying down, but now you're doing it standing up. And so likely when you're seeing these, it's probably when you're standing and doing it in the mirror, so you'd be standing. But any changes, I mean, even if it is laying down, if it's something that you're like, that's new, like my skin's never done that when I laid down before, yeah, like any changes like that that are different, is something to bring up to your doctor. Hot red patches. I've even heard a lot of women talk about their cancer area got very itchy and it wouldn't stop itching. And then even just like that persistent fatigue, like something's not right. And it's really funny when I look back, I was going through this thing. Bless my coach, my powerlifting coach is a whole ass saint. He tolerates so much of my bullshit, but I was going through a period where I just did not wanna. I was like, I have no desire to do this. I'm like, can I just maybe, because I was working out 4 days a week. He was writing me 3 and he was giving me a 4th day to just write my own workouts. He's like, as long as you log in the app what you're doing so I can see what you're doing, so we know if there's improvements or changes, what might be causing them. Do whatever feels good to you. Like do whatever makes, makes you feel a workout you're looking forward to, basically.
Yeah.
So, like, we went through this, but looking back on it, like, I went through that for several months leading up to my diagnosis. And I was like, I wonder if that wasn't my body being like, hey, homegirl, like, you got cancer.
Like
We
something's wrong
need to
because
do
that never
something.
happened before.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, no. So, and then also to note, not only are you feeling around your breast, but you also want to feel into your armpits too. We do have like breast tissue that comes up into over
Oh.
here too. You can
Mhm.
actually see my scar there where they removed lymph nodes
Yeah.
in my surgery. So like all up into there because your lymph nodes can get swollen and whatnot also from this. So you want to like feel for any changes all up in everywhere. And then, okay, so I never did find that exact number.
Oh yeah.
And there's a ton of risk factors. Guys, sorry, I'm all over the place on this in this story, but things that I meant to actually talk about before I really got into the story, but about risk factors. So, found it. 75% of breast cancer is diagnosed in women with no obvious risk factors. Never mind, that's not the feeling it. That's the no obvious risk factors. Risk factors are things like family history, like we talked about, lifestyle things like drinking alcohol, no exercise. I'm like totally drawing a blank. Just poor nutrition in general, smoking. The dense tissue turns out is a risk factor that I did not even know about. And then just aging. Most cancers are found in women 50 and up, although, like I said, these numbers are starting to skew younger and younger. And it's just because, like I'd said before, I never went and got my mammogram because I'm like, I am healthy. I do all the things. I don't have any risk factors. 75% of breast cancer are diagnosed in women with no obvious risk factors.
Damn.
And so
That's high.
that would have been me because my dense tissue is not an obvious risk factor. I didn't even know I had it. And so that was literally my only risk factor is my dense tissue.
And we don't know if someone has dense tissue unless you get checked out
Mhm.
specifically to okay.
Yeah.
Like I have big boobs, but that doesn't mean that I have dense
Yeah.
tissue.
And the dense tissue, it's like connective tissue and whatever, as opposed to like fatty tissue. And what I thought was interesting too, I was like, when I think about it, when I lost my weight, when I first started my whole health journey, my boobs shrunk, but not as much as I see other people's boobs shrink. And like people like make jokes about how when you lose weight, you lose your boobs first and whatever. And it's like, and I mean, they got smaller. I went down. Actually, I did not go down a cup size. I went down a band, like 2 band sizes around. I
Oh
actually
shit.
didn't really go down a cup size.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes sense because if mine aren't made up of the fatty tissue as much, losing body fat didn't really change them too much. And so I don't know, like that's not a scientific analysis. That's just something I observed for myself. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that makes sense because if they're not mostly made up of fatty tissue, if it's mostly connective tissue, I wouldn't have lost it on a weight loss journey. So so maybe just something to like watch for. More than half of women over 40 do have dense tissue. I wonder if maybe I saw it and I didn't write it down. I will find it though, and I will for sure tell you what it is where it can't be found. I wonder if I was thinking of that 75% who have no obvious
Could
risk
be.
factors. I might have been thinking of that when I said this, but
Yeah.
so anyway, I'm in there, I'm doing the ultrasound. She still couldn't feel it even with we knew exactly where it was. And you could even see in the ultrasound screen, you could see everything getting pushed in as she pushed her thumb in, but she couldn't feel anything at all. And it was like right towards the top of the skin. So it should have been felt and it was not. So that also, and I saw it again, obviously, and it looked different than what I saw on that very first one way back in July or October, whatever that was. The one that I saw the first time was very like ovally shaped. This one, and it's like one of the few things I knew about cancer is the cells look like jaggedy. They don't have like nice circular edges. And that's exactly what I saw. And so
Mhm.
I was like, okay. So we do all that. I go home, biopsy scheduled the next day. I tell my husband and my son, I'm like, all right, guys, like, I know what I saw. And like, I be prepared. Like hold on to your ass, everybody, because we're about to go for a ride. And it was just like it was just very matter of fact at that point, where I was just like, I know what I saw. I know what's coming. We just need all the tests to confirm and give us the plan. But without the doctor telling me, I know what I saw. So
Yeah.
she called me. My surgeon called me after, because she then got all the results of all that. It's like 6, 7 o'clock at night. She called me and she's like, okay, I just talked to Dr. whoever that was reading all that. And she's like, we're pretty sure that this is definitely cancer. And she's like, so go in for the biopsy. We're going to get all the pathology, and that's going to tell us more information about it. How advanced is it? What do we do with it? And as soon as she said it, like, she was being very careful saying it. And I told her, I was like, well, I saw it. I know. Like, you're not telling me anything I don't already know.
Yeah.
And so she was like, yeah, so go to your biopsy, do all this. And I remember saying, I don't think she still to this day knows what to make of me. I still see her every 6 months. But I said, well, so I guess we just got to kick ass. Like, we don't have any other plan, right? And she just laughed and she's like, okay, let's go. Like, she was just like, all right. Um, and even like all the way back when like she's talking about surgery, and I'm like, well, how soon can I lift? Like, she just thinks that I'm
Yeah.
like this weird ass whatever. And my weirdness continued all throughout this journey. But so I go into the biopsy. It was the exact same thing as before, except in a different spot, obviously. Then the next day is Thanksgiving. And so now, because we're going into holidays, a lot of my pathology and shit was taking forever to come back. But it did come back that next week after Thanksgiving. Again, surgeon called and she's like, okay, yep, it is confirmed. We need you to come in so we can give you all the information. We need to talk about all your options, whatever. So that next week we go in, and the official diagnosis, thank goodness, it was stage 1. It was specifically stage 1A, which obviously stage 1 is early. There is they kind of call it stage 0 cancer, but it's not oftentimes recognized as cancer. It's usually like pre-cancer. But stage 1, 1A, and it was invasive ductal carcinoma. So basically it had left the ducts, like the milk ducts and whatnot. And so being invasive, it had at least spread beyond that part. But because it was still stage 1, we were hopeful that nothing had spread. That's why I have this scar, and they had to take lymph nodes because they check, because that's where it would spread. If it's going to spread from the breast, it's going to go through the lymph nodes and out into the rest of your body. So when you do surgery, they remove the lymph nodes and they biopsy those from surgery. And if there's no evidence of any cancer cells in there, then you're hopeful that nothing had actually spread. And if there is, then there's a chance it did spread. And so then the treatment plan becomes completely different at that point. So being so early on, we were hopeful. And plus with the ultrasound and things, I'd now had like 3 or 4 ultrasounds done. Most all of them showed that the lymph nodes looked clear, at least in the ultrasound, but you really can't tell for sure. It's tiniest little cells, that you can't tell until an actual biopsy is done. So I'm hormone receptor positive, so estrogen and progesterone positive, and HER2 negative. And so there's all these different combinations of breast cancer where you might be hormone negative and HER2 negative, which they call that triple negative, which has a very different treatment plan. That's almost pretty much a guarantee for chemo and things like that. And it's very aggressive, but also it's very responsive to treatment. So you want to catch it because it is very aggressive. But at the same time, the good news is that the treatments we have for that work really, really well and whatever. So there's all these different types. And so mine's hormone positive, HER2 negative. And we don't know yet if chemo is going to be necessary until after they get the tumor removed. So at this point, I have to decide, do I want to do a lumpectomy and to just remove the tumor? Or do we want to do a mastectomy where they just take the whole boob, and even potentially double mastectomy? So she gives us all the stats and all that. And I don't know if this is just for my particular specific type, but the statistics on recurrence rates, because that's the big fear, is like, is cancer going to come back at some point in my life? That's what we want to prevent. And so the statistics on having a lumpectomy, where they just go in and remove the lump, as opposed to a mastectomy, aren't very different. And so it's usually, for my type anyway, it's not necessarily recommended to have the more invasive surgery, because it doesn't really change the the outcomes in terms of cancer recurrence or anything else. So they usually recommend go the easier route, and then we go from there. So that's what I did. And they removed both of the spots, the benign one and the cancer. And like I said, the lymph nodes. And then we just wait. And so this all happened the week before Christmas that I had surgery. And so that week after Christmas, they call, and the beginnings of my pathology came back, and it was all good news. So what they check for clear margins. So when she cuts the tumor out, they check the distance from the last cancer cell to the edge of what got cut out. And you want to have a good clear margin all the way around that tells us that she actually got all of it. And I did have clear margins. A lot of times women don't, because they're just tiny cells that the doctor can't see with their own eyes, And so sometimes they don't have clear margins, and they have to go back in and have another surgery and cut out more till they do get clear margins. So that sometimes is a thing that happens, but not to me, thankfully. They verified the size. It was 1.2 centimeters, if I'm remembering correctly, across. And that's one of the reasons, because it's pretty small, and that's one of the how they determine like stage and all that is how the size of it. It was pretty small. And I also had good news I forgot to mention earlier. So they give you the score. It's a KI67 score, and it tells you how quick the tumor is growing. Like science is so fucking cool, man. So they can, it's out of 100. And so the higher that score, the faster it's growing, the faster, quicker, and more aggressive we need to be with treatment before it does potentially spread or whatever. So if it's out of 100, my KI67 score was 6. And I was like 6 out of 100. Like I repeated it back to her, and she was like, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. Like this is good. Like we can do this.
Yeah.
And it honestly, to the point, this is December. She even offered to put surgery off until January, because I was concerned, because with insurance, your insurance resets in January. And so I'm going to pay all my out of pocket, and then January is going to come and I have to pay all my out of pocket again for the rest of my treatment. And so she was like, it's so slow growing. She's like, do you want to just put it off till January? And I was like, hell no. Get this out. Out. I don't care what this is going to cost. Get this out of me. So we had all that pathology. The only thing we did not have, which we really needed, is a thing called your oncotype score. And anybody who has hormone positive breast cancer gets this score. And basically, again, science is cool. They take what they cut out of you, and they resequence the DNA of the tumor itself. And when they sequence that DNA, it gives all this information about the tumor, and it tells us what percentage, what's the word I'm trying to say? Like what percent benefit chemotherapy will have. And sometimes the effects of chemotherapy don't outweigh the benefits for certain types of tumors. So they give you this score, and then that lets you know if we should follow through with chemo or not. And so my lymph nodes were clear, by the way. So that was another good sign. And so we waited, and it was supposed to come back in 2 weeks. It didn't. So I have appointments being canceled because I'm waiting for this score to come back. 3 weeks, nothing. 4 weeks, nothing. Because of the holidays, everything got backed up. We didn't get this score until like the very end of January, beginning of February, somewhere around there. And I had my surgery on December 18th. And so we finally get it. And thank goodness my score was a 15. And it's different for like if you're premenopause and postmenopause or whatever, like what score you need because of the way your hormones are in your body, because it's a hormone-fed cancer. So I needed a score that was for sure below 25, ideally below 20. To say no cancer, because when you get in that like gray area, where it's like maybe chemo would be benefit, like what do we want to do? And thankfully mine was a 15, so it was far enough away from that there was no real benefit to doing chemo. I just have to do hormone blockers now, and I've talked about that's why my hair's curly. That's what we've talked about that before.
Yes.
Yeah. So I do that, and I did not need chemo. I did do 20 rounds of radiation. You go every day, 5 days a week for radiation, and radiation is localized specific to your boob, basically. Whereas chemotherapy is full body. Like chemo like makes sure any of those rogue cells that maybe got out are getting killed. Whereas radiation targets specifically just that area. So that's the difference there. And like with chemo, that's where you see people like they lose their hair and they have all these other issues. I didn't thankfully have to do that. So I'm left with these curls, but you have to go to radiation and you lay on this table. It's like a glass table, And you go ahead of time, and they like map. It's called mapping, and they literally like map out your body and where the tumor is. And the radiation oncologist was like, we literally have physicists that work here, and they create your radiation treatment plan. I was like, what? Maybe think of like Sheldon Cooper from like Big Bang Theory. I'm like, are there Sheldons back there somewhere? Like, kept figuring out like, where's this tumor, or where was this tumor in her boob and relation to whatever. And because it was my left side, it's right above my heart. So we had to be really careful. You obviously don't want to radiate your heart. So that added like another layer of, oh shit. And there's different things that some places do. Unfortunately, mine did not offer it, but there's some places where you can lay on your belly, and it like your boob basically hangs down, and they do the radiation that way to try and keep it like away from the heart. But when you take a really big, deep diaphragmatic breath and hold, it pushes like your lungs and your organs go back. So each time they were doing like they turned on the radiation, it would go in like 15, 20-second spurts. They would tell me overhead, okay, take a breath. And I would have to take a big breath to pull my heart and my lungs back. They would shoot the radiation in, and then it would stop, and they'd say, okay, breathe. And I breathe, and then I'd have to do big breathing. So that was how they did that to try to keep it from going at the heart or anything. That was crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Very, again, out of body experience type of a thing. And so that was, I had 20 rounds of that, 16 rounds of that normal. And then there were 4 rounds that they call boost rounds, where it was targeted not just to like my whole left breast, but like specifically the tumor, like the cavity that was left behind from the tumor. Like they target directly all into that spot. And it wasn't, I was super tired. By about round 10, I was so fatigued. I was needing to take naps and all that kind of stuff. I was getting, it was like sunburn. It was like a really bad sunburn. And actually, I don't know if you can see it in the camera. You can still kind of see, can you see like a little bit, it's a little bit darker down here than up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that you can kind of see the
Oh,
line
yeah.
if you look. So that's, you can still see the
Yes.
radiation line.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I still have all that. And it is definitely like as a whole, when I like look in the mirror without a shirt on, it's noticeably darker than this side. It's like,
Yeah.
whatever. And but it was like a really bad sunburn. I got creams and all that stuff that we put on it, steroid creams and whatever that they gave me that did work pretty well, I believe. But you deal with that, and it peeled and whatever. And then for a few weeks after that, I was still like dead to the world. Like I just could barely function. Like I was just so tired. It just drained me so bad. But then like after about 3 weeks from that, like I felt myself like coming back up. And technically after that's over, you're considered cancer free, and yeah, you're a survivor. And it's like, okay, you're a survivor, off you go, bye. And it was just very you feel a little abandoned almost, because I'm going to these appointments like literally every weekday for so long, and I'm constant. And then all of a sudden it's just like, all right, well, you're good. And there was no test to make sure I'm good. There was no, they can't do like follow up like mammograms and all that, because the tissue and everything is so damaged from surgery and from radiation. They couldn't see anything anyway. There is a scan called a PET scan that some women will get, but that's usually reserved for people who have more advanced cancers, like where it may have spread, and it can test in all of your like organs and whatever. So, but thankfully mine was so early that I didn't really qualify for things like that. So I just went, this is Tuesday, I just went on Friday, and I had a breast MRI, and this was the very first anything like this that I've had since treatment ended in March. And it fucked me up a little bit in the head, just the what ifs and the like, what if they find something? What if they missed something? Like it's just all the things. But I had to do physical therapy twice. One, I had to do pelvic floor physical therapy because the effects of the hormone blockers were creating pelvic floor issues, where I like was practically peeing my pants, and I could not hold. I was having to go like every 20 to 30 minutes. I was having to run to the bathroom, or else I'm going to pee my pants type of thing. Just create a lot of issues there. So I had to go do that. And that has gotten better. Still not great, but it's definitely better than it was. And then I had to go. So surgery and radiation can create this thing called cording. And you can actually see it right there. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not supposed to be there. And so basically this runs from elbow all the way down your chest wall, down to like down the side of your boob down here. It gets really tight. and it reduces your range of motion. And a lot of women get like frozen shoulder and things like that from it that they have to work through. And so I had to do PT on that to stretch that out enough. Like I could not do that at all. Like I could only get my hand
Wow.
tube out there. And so like now full range of motion. So I had to do that twice. And it's just, I guess for me, it's like, it felt like I post the videos or the pictures or whatever, like where I ring the bell and everyone's like, yay. And I'm just staring like, yay. Like I'm still on these awful medicines for years and years. And
Yeah.
I still have to go to PT and I still have this. And like the mental health side of it, like it's especially for someone who eats well, exercises, does all the things, it's like the ultimate betrayal. Like my body completely betrayed me after every good thing I've done for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's just a lot of mental health shit that comes with that. And I am definitely not the same person that I was in a lot of ways. I just kind of see everything different. I look at everything kind of through a different lens now. You know what I mean? Sometimes I get frustrated and I have to kind of check myself because I see the potential. Like if I'm looking at my clients, for example, in some of them, I might see the potential, but I see them not living up to that potential and kind of half-assing a little bit maybe. And it's like, I have to check myself in my approach because what I really want to do is run over to them and grab them and be like, don't you understand how important this is? Like this literally could be your life. And this, like I get
Yeah.
so in my own head over it. But then it's like, I have to check myself like, no, she doesn't see that because she didn't live this fucked up thing that you just lived, Like I have to
Yeah.
try to really remember perspective and it gets a little bit, it gets hard sometimes because it's like, I wish everyone understood how important it was for you to start taking care of yourself, for you to start doing whatever. Like, and all I can
Yeah.
do is things like this where I talk about it and hopefully it resonates with somebody and, they decide to do it, and they decide to start taking care of themselves because it's like the only amount of control I guess I have over that. Like I can't make
Yeah.
somebody do it, but I cannot reinforce enough how important it is, man. Lift the freaking weights, eat the protein, eat the fiber. Like,
I could see someone listening to this and being like, well, shit, you've been doing all things, lifting weights,
mhm,
eating, and you still got cancer. Fuck it, I'm not gonna do anything.
yeah. But, man, that moment I had sitting in that biopsy chair and realizing that because I do all those things, I know I can fight this and I know
Yeah.
that it's going to be
And
okay.
obviously the benefit of doing those outweighs the fact of
Yes,
like not doing it
for
and
sure.
because like yeah, anyone can get it like and the fact that we know now so when I was even in high school, there was one who I'm pretty sure it was cancer that she got. I don't remember what type or anything, but she was a senior or maybe she had just graduated, I'm not sure, but she was like one of the healthiest people,
hmm
happiest people, like worked out. She was like this tiny thing, like, and she passed away. And it's like, you don't know anything of that's going on, but it could affect you in the long run. But like
Yeah.
only eating healthier, only lifting the weights and working out and exercise, it'll prevent a lot of that of what could happen, And
Yes.
like obviously in your case, like you are doing those things and that still happened, but like the mental strength helps you to
Yeah.
get through that, to get through some of that.
Yeah.
And like it's just it far outweighs like the
For
benefit of,
sure.
not doing it anyways. But
Yeah. And a lot of times in more advanced cancer, a lot of times what actually ends up causing people to pass is obviously it's the cancer, but it's the muscle atrophy and everything else that comes from it. And so for me, it was like, I have built as much as I can put on this little body that I've been able to in the last however many years. Like, we're in this for the long haul. Here we go. You know what I mean? And so, like, that was a big piece of it too, is just because that's one of the things that I used to put like in my social media posts. I'm like, a lot of time in older adults, like much older adults, and then things like cancer, like oftentimes it's the muscle atrophy and all of that that actually ends up being what causes people to pass, not so much obviously caused by the bigger issue. I'm not trying to say that it wasn't cancer, but it might buy you time, to keep fighting, for the treatments to work, for the whatever to happen.
yeah. And
Um,
obviously there's like a lot more that goes into that and depending on like type of cancer and like all of those things.
yes,
But
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So,
yeah.
all my big messages: don't skip your mammograms. when you turn 40, get those mammograms. If you feel
Or
like
before that,
you,
that's what I got from this.
I was gonna
Do
say,
it before.
especially if you feel like you have any of those risk factors, start getting them before.
Peace of mind. Shit. I'm like having anxiety thinking about it. Like I need to go get a mammogram. I need to do all the women health things because I haven't seen a doctor since college, which has been 10 plus years.
Girl, come on now. I'm going to start texting
and
you like I did with Cindy. I'm
you
like,
should,
you go yet?
honestly. And I think a big thing for me is that I just don't have anyone here. Like for a doctor. I mean, I could ask recommendations. There has been someone that recommended me to someone, but I think that I don't have trust with like Western medicine and doctors. That it's just been, I just don't care to go. But like now hearing like all of this and plus the fact that we want to have kids someday, like I know I needed to go to an OB and like do all of those things. So like it is nudging me forward to taking action, right? Like being intentional, taking action in finding someone. But that's just one reason why I've been putting it off.
Yeah. If it were me, if I were in that boat, I would say find your OB first. Like make that the priority, because I did not have a primary care doctor here at all. But my OB was doing my blood work and she was keeping tabs on all of this stuff, like not the cancer stuff, obviously, but just in general, like she was checking my thyroid for me. She was checking my blood glucose. Like she was able to do all that. Plus things like my pap smear and, all the other women's health stuff that goes along with that. And I find that OBGYNs tend to be a little more receptive to women talking about problems. Like, you hear these stories of doctors just dismissing people when they say things. But I found with like a lot of my clients too, when they finally do get through to somebody and get like able to like get somebody to listen to them and to run the tests and whatever, more often than not, it ends up being their OBGYN that did it. I might say start there, and then they might tell you, no, you need a primary care. And then in that case, do that too. But I didn't have a primary care. It was my oncologist was like, you just finished cancer treatment. You need a primary care physician. So I finally did get one. Like they kind of made me get one. But I also had to go do other things after all of this that I'd never done before. Like I had to go to a dermatologist and have a full body skin check to make sure. And they did remove several moles and one of them did come back abnormal. So now I'm keeping tabs and it's on the very bottom of my freaking foot. Yeah, it took forever to heal. In fact, just today I was still kind of peeling some skin off of it, and that was in June that I had that done. So we're keeping an eye on that. I go back in December to see if once they've removed the mole, like is it growing back? What is it doing? So like now we're keeping tabs on that. Then I had to go get the colonoscopy, which actually I think I got my colonoscopy right at the very beginning of us starting recording this podcast.
Yeah, it was. It was literally, we were in conversation about been talking about it.
Yes. And
I remember that.
God, that's like it's awful, y'all. That is 1,000 times worse than any mammogram ever will be. But as long as it comes back clear, you only have to do that once every 10 years. So just buck it up and get it over with. And that's when you're supposed to start doing at 45 is when you're supposed to. It used to be 50, and colon cancer is very much on the rise in younger people. So it got pushed back to 45. And my OBGYN actually told me she expects it to go down to 40 at some point soon.
Oh, shit.
So because...
What about... So sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I say just because it's becoming more and more prevalent in younger people.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you talked about like the skin checks, is, like to be doing that often? Like I don't look at my skin. I don't like I mean I have freckles. I have something like a birthmark thing, but like
it's mostly making sure those things don't change. So do they seem like
or like there's something
shape is changing? Are they growing? Are they whatever? And like I just went in and I was in underwear and a sports bra. And she legit just literally like she even went through my scalp, because actually one of the ones they had to remove was in my scalp. 2 of them. I think 2 were in my scalp.
Dude.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, and I really started to panic about that because I thought I don't sunscreen the top of my head. And I was worried about, like, is it in my part where like the sun is hitting it and you know what I mean? So I started to get anxious about that. And it turned out the one on the bottom of my foot was the one that I had to be worried about. Like, who the hell would have ever thought? But she literally just like went through and just literally like touched, and she was going through and she was asking me questions because I don't have a lot of freckles, but I do have some moles and some are darker colored than others. And she was like, I don't know about this. But now that we know that one on the bottom of my foot coming back abnormal that we have to watch, she's like, okay, now we know that your body does produce abnormal moles. So we need to be a little bit more on top of anything new that, that you might notice or that we see. And so I go every 6 months now that they found something abnormal, but had that not come back abnormal, it would have been every year that they would have
Mm.
done that, like
Mm-hmm.
the check for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's like now I get to do that too. And then the thank goodness my colonoscopy came back great. I was like star student of the colonoscopy patients. She was like totally clear, good. Everyone kept telling me that it's normal to have like polyps in there that they have to remove and to don't panic. Like a lot of people have that. Nope, I didn't even have that. I was like,
Yeah.
hell yeah, colon of the year right here.
Another year.
um, but the prep for that is awful because you can't eat or anything. You can only drink, like it's a liquid diet, and it can't be things that are red or whatever because you can't have things that look like blood in your colon. And you have to drink this stuff that totally clears you out. Like it was an
Gross.
adventure for sure.
Yeah.
But it's over. I don't have to do it for another 10 years. So
Yeah.
we're good there. And then now I still have all these. I see my oncologist later this month. I see the surgeon again, I think in December or January. And I just had this MRI. My first regular mammogram is going to be in November, first since all of this would be in November. But because of the dense tissue, we expect that it will also end up being ultrasound and everything else too. And yeah. And so it's just like that living with the worry and the what ifs and the all of that. And like I said, when you finish, everyone's like, yay, let's go back to normal. But like that doesn't exist. There is no normal for me anymore. At least what
Yeah.
used to be normal is not normal. And it's been really hard to just kind of navigate life and navigate the world when people on the outside are like, oh, you're done. You're fine. But inside of me, I'm not fine at all.
Yeah. So that brings me to a question, actually. When so like, let's say, put yourself back into when you were going through it and you had found out and you're just living day to day. I don't know if you saw this or not, whatever, but like, how can someone support someone else? Like, what do you like? I'm trying to put myself in the situation of like, if I know someone and they just told me that, it's like, I don't want to just be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I hate when people say, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry, blah, blah. Like, we still do it
Yeah.
because it's like what you say, but it's just like, it's not helpful. Like, what is something supportive, or like, what would make sense to like say, or like,
Yeah.
just, I'm here if you need me. Like, I don't know. What
Yeah.
you say?
Yeah, that's an amazing question, actually. That's a really, really, really good question. So for me, I think, everybody's different. And I know a lot of women, just we have different mindsets. We, whatever. And I know a lot of people in like a lot of the cancer groups that I'm in and things would answer this question completely different. So I think the first thing I would say is like, know that person, like,
Yeah.
especially if it's someone that you're close-ish with, kind of know their temperament. I have kind of a sick sense of humor. And so I honestly found, and I know a lot of other cancer patients are like this as well. I actually found a little bit of comfort in some of the dark jokes, like and so just being able to kind of laugh at it, like, fuck you, like, I'm gonna mock you kind of at the, like, fuck cancer
Yeah.
type of thing. We used to joke, like, I would do whatever, or I would go to lift something, I'm like, oh wait, I'm not supposed to lift that. I was like, cancer boob, can't do it, sorry guys, like, and so because I continued seeing clients. The only time I took off was like right around my surgery, and stuff like that. But otherwise, I still saw them. But I was on weight restriction for quite a while on how much weight I could lift. So I wasn't able to like help load
Yeah.
barbells and all that like I used to. It was hard to like pull myself back from that because it's just my instinct to go do these things. So I had to stop. And I'm like, and so we would just make a lot of jokes about cancer boob. And I never resonate. Like people use a lot of words like warrior and all that stuff to talk about breast cancer, like patients or whatever, people with breast cancer. And like the word like warrior never resonated with me at all. I just did not like that word. Survivor I
Yeah.
use now, and I'm like kind of good there. Like I feel like I didn't warrior is such a like intense war type word that I don't feel like I went through that, being that mine was found so early. Like I feel like things like that should be reserved for the women who are really going the hell through it, chemo and all the things. You know what I mean? It almost feels like a stolen valor kind of thing where like I don't want
Mhm.
to. That is a representative of these other people who truly are like fighting for their lives. Like I just got cut open and they removed it and then I laid down and had some radiation for a while. You know, like
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of dismissing my experience a little bit, but it just never felt good to me. And so we were joking around with like what what other words, like if I'm not a warrior. And so what we stopped on, and I literally only used this term for like a week, and I was like, okay, you got to stop this. We were using Hooter Hero. And I was like I'm a Hooter hero. Like here we go.
Yes, I like that. Hooter hero.
And so like, you know, so for me, it was like the things we could laugh at, the jokes we could make in the face of all of it is what made me feel a lot of comfort. I had started when all of this first started way back in November, and I was very much in my head and whatever. I pulled way back on social media. Like I was only posting maybe once or twice a week. I just didn't want to be even on the computer. I started doing jigsaw puzzles a lot. And so my clients, amazing. I actually put a thing out in our group message board system that we have. And I said, hey, if anybody has any jigsaw puzzles laying around that you wouldn't mind me borrowing, because I don't want to keep spending like $10, $15 on these things. And then what do you do with one after you do it? Like whatever. Like, so if anybody has any that I can borrow, like that'd be great. I still have a pile of puzzles out there that I had. Like they showed up. I had some brought me ice cream. They brought me like slipper socks and like big fuzzy like blanket thing. You know, like it was all the like comfort type things. Like here, I know you're doing this. I know you love ice cream. I know you love puzzles. Like here's all this. Like it's our way of showing you that, you know, we support you and we care about you. But it wasn't that like mushy gushy type thing, because I don't deal well with that, all of the I'm sorry's and the whatever. I'm always just like, it's okay. I'm fine. It's okay. Like I'm just not emotional like that. I mean, I obviously freaking cry about everything, especially I never used to be a crier until cancer. Now all kinds of shit makes me cry all the time.
Now you cry all the time.
I do. Even like I'll get a PR in the gym and I cry. Like, cause it's like, it always just, it feels like one more fuck you to cancer. You know what I mean? Like every little PR, even I still haven't PR'd from pre-cancer, but each step closer I get to that and things I haven't done since cancer is like another big, big, huge deal to me. Like, oh, I'm gonna cry again just talking about it. It's just a really big deal because it's like, yes, I can. And I'm, you know, watch me type of thing. And I did register for the Arnold again.
Woo!
So we'll see. We'll see. Not we'll see. Like we will. We going. We're gonna be there.
Where's
this time. It's in Columbus, Ohio.
When?
It's like the first week of March. I want to say like the 5th or 6th, something like that. And yeah. It was like, so I told my like this is the last piece.
That would be a full circle moment
That's
right there.
Exactly what I was about to say. Exact words was this is the last piece where like it closes this loop. It's this full circle loop. Will be closed. And it's the last thing that, I mean, aside from obviously the mental health and the whatever, it's like the last thing that cancer took from me that I'm going to reclaim back again. And who knows what my weight will be. Like I had a goal. I was on track for a 300-pound squat at that meet and whatever before all this happened. I don't know that I'll get back to that by then, but whatever. Like just like I have this meet coming up in December, the very first one since before cancer. And so this one, that's kind of like I don't know, like a trial run kind of thing to prepare for the Arnold. And so like that's going to be like a big moment in the sense of like I'm back on the platform again after all this. Like I didn't let cancer take powerlifting from me and whatever. And then the Arnold is going to just be that final like closing that loop that I had to miss out on, and you know, just everything. So I mean, I'm trying like hell to get back to it all, but I feel some days I feel like a complete badass, and other days I feel like an absolute mess. But you know,
same.
but therapy, man, therapy is everything. That has helped me so much through all of this. And my therapy that I'm doing is actually specific through this cancer survivorship program that my oncologist office has. And they've been amazing and just helping me navigate what it is to be a survivor. And the crazy thing is that program was only about 2 weeks old when I started it. It was a brand new. It only been out for about 2 weeks. So it made me think that all of these other survivors that came before me had to navigate all this without that survivorship program. So that's why to me, I just like want to really like bring awareness to like the struggles and the trials and the tribulations and the whatever that survivors have, because to the outside world, it seems like, well, you're a survivor. It should be fine now, but it is not fine. It is far from fine. And,
Yeah.
just I made a post yesterday just about like sexual health. Like all of this stuff impacts that even. A lot of times for women my age in my late 40s, they're like, "Oh, go on HRT, that'll fix that." Well, I can't now because my cancer was hormone positive. I'll never be able to do that. So I have to find other ways that don't use hormones that can help support that. And whatever. So there's just so
Yeah.
much that I think people just don't they just don't know. Not that they don't
Yeah.
acknowledge it, they just don't know. It seems like it should be fine, and it's not fine. And so just
Yeah.
if you do have any survivors in your life, always kinda keep that perspective.
And I think, like, check in on them
Yeah.
because, like you said, like, yeah, that like, you rang the bell and you don't have that anymore, but, like, I can't imagine living like, I would be living in constant worry every
Yeah.
day, and I'm sure you do, and it's like, I would just like, right now, I'm worried that I have something which I haven't this is, like, my catastrophizing, I think, in my
Yeah.
head, but, like, if I was in your shoes, I would just be constantly worried about that, so, like, checking in I've never
Mhm.
even thought about this, and now talking to you, it's like, I'm gonna check in on you because it's like, I feel like yeah, it's just something that you don't know. It's behind closed doors too,
Yeah.
right? Like, you ring the bell, but really, you're still living in that fear. You're
Mhm.
still, like, having to probably do check-ins every, 6 months or
Yeah.
taking meds or, like, it's still affecting you in
Yep.
different ways. But I think even this goes to say this is true for anything, like
Yes.
checking in on your people, even if they didn't have cancer, even if they are feeling they seem fine,
Yeah.
even if they, like, you just never know
No.
because yeah,
Yeah.
so
It
whether they look like struggling with something or not, like, just check in with your people and check it and
yeah.
just yeah,
Yeah, it's like that what do they call it? Like
way.
that invisible disease or whatever, where it's like when you're in active treatment, people see you're going, whether it's chemo or whatever it is, they see you going through it. But then when that's done, it's like you said, it's the behind closed doors stuff. And a lot of things are like that, like a lot of mental health stuff.
Mhm.
Anybody who's been through any kind of trauma, anybody who, even you just, diabetes, yeah, anything, all this stuff is like internal. And you can't necessarily see it by looking at a person. So you just never ever
Yeah,
know what somebody might be
and
going
most
through.
people probably don't say they
No,
don't say stuff,
no.
there's parts of my life that I'll share, but, like, there's a lot that I don't share,
Hmm.
and it's like, most people probably don't
Yeah,
share their shit like we do,
yeah,
because it's just kind of what we do, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's a thing, so
What would be okay, so, like, to wrap up, because I interrupted you and when you were talking about this, but,
oh,
like, the big takeaways that you want people
yeah.
to take away, and then if they want to reach out to connect with you, and if there's a way to support you or breast cancer awareness, like foundations, like,
Yeah.
is there anything that you I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually a great a great point. So especially now in October, we see a lot of what we call pink washing, where all these companies and everybody all of a sudden has all this pink shit, right? Like the pink ribbons, the pink everything is everywhere. And a lot of times what you're purchasing where it's awareness, none or minimal amounts of that purchase is going towards anything that supports breast cancer. They're basically using it for marketing to make money for their company.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so paying attention, like if you are going to buy an item or buy a shirt or, whatever it is that is for breast cancer awareness or uh any awareness of anything, make sure that you're paying attention to where are the proceeds going. Make sure they are disclosing that. Because if they're not disclosing it, they're probably going nowhere except their own pocket. And it just honestly pisses me off that people are making money off of my cancer, and
Mhm.
so just really watching where it's going. Like Susan G. Komen is a very well-known organization that probably the biggest, I would say. And there's like what is the one like National Breast Cancer Fund. There's a few others, and you can kind of look and see that, like make sure they're nonprofits and whatever. But Susan G. Komen tends to be the biggest one. We just had the breast cancer walk this past weekend, and that was all through Susan G. Komen. And, like, I had a team, like, some of my clients and their family and whatever all came, and they
Nice.
walked and raised money, and so we ended up raising I haven't actually looked because there were still some donations coming in, but last time I checked, it was, I think, around $1,200 that our team raised, which was
Nice.
very cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so, just yeah, things like this. So just knowing, like, it's super cool when people are like, "Oh, I got this to support breast cancer," but then it's from a place that is just making money off of you, you know, and it's so
Mhm.
just knowing where that money is going. I made a video about this. I just put it in my stories. I didn't put it on my Instagram, but I did put it on my Facebook just for my Facebook friends. And I had a guy I went to high school with said he looked into where something that he got was and found out only 1% of the proceeds were going to whatever they were saying.
Holy
So
shit.
yeah, so they're just using it for marketing and to make money. So just being aware of that. Yeah, other than that, like mainly just the Susan G. Komen, like when we do the walk, and now the walk's over now, so we'll do it again next year. But that's like the one time where I might put out like requests for fundraising posts and stuff like that and that's through them. And then the main takeaways, yeah, just and I've already said them a few times, but get your dang mammograms. Don't put them off. They don't hurt that bad. It's well worth it. The peace of mind alone, I promise, is totally worth it. And make sure you're doing your self exams because even though a lot of times they can't be felt, a lot of times they can. And knowing to look for those things like the dimpling of the skin, the hot red spots, the itchy, any changes at all in that area and into the armpit, just go see your doctor. It doesn't hurt to just say, "Hey, I've noticed this. It's been a few weeks. It hasn't gone away. Can we look into it?" And the worst they're going to say is, "It's nothing," or "It's like a cyst or something." And it's like, "Great. Now I'm not stressing myself out with that back of my mind worrying about what the hell is this thing, you know?" So it's worth it to just go get it looked at if you notice those things. And then the last thing is just recognizing that like invisible struggle that survivors go through that is often not super acknowledged, at least in the awareness field, because rightly so, we are raising awareness for research and everything else that is legitimately saving lives. And like my cancer, for example, to the research point, now in 2025, the specific type that I had is 99% survivable. And that is just not at all would have been the case however many, a few decades
Wow.
ago. So the
Yeah.
research is everything and whatever, but I just want to make sure that the survivors don't get lost and all that too. So
Yes, I love that. And where if someone wants to reach out,
oh
like,
yeah.
or they want to connect with you or anything.
Yeah, I mean, social media is usually the best way to go about that. My Instagram and TikTok, although I do get on TikTok, I just never actually post on it really, which maybe I should
That's like my
start.
fun platform. I'll post
Yeah,
whatever the fuck I want on there.
that's true. Yeah. I used to do the same stuff from Instagram to TikTok. I would literally just take the same post and put it on both.
Yeah.
But then I don't know, TikTok just got to be a lot. But I do still log in sometimes. That's where I read a lot of my Taylor Swift stuff on TikTok and things like that.
Yes.
But both of those it's Chris Petroni Fit, at Chris Petroni Fit, KRIS. Yeah. And
But if you
I
go to the UBOT pod, you'll be able to find it
yeah,
too. Like,
exactly.
I'll put it in the
Yeah.
show notes, but yeah.
Yeah, Cuba Pod. And I do try to this month I'm trying to do like one post a week that's specifically around breast cancer awareness, just because I try to sprinkle it in a little bit just in the overall message of get strong, like women need to be strong type
Yeah.
of thing, but I'm doing a little more so this month. But I'm always more than happy to talk and answer questions. I don't ever I've been very vocal about this from the beginning. I actually have a whole like video blog that I did throughout my whole process,
Oh,
that I'd started doing at the very beginning. And so it really helps me to talk about it a lot. It's like very therapeutic for me to just talk about it and bring it out. So I'm more than happy to talk if anybody has
is that on
questions.
YouTube?
It is so on my website, I have a blog on my website that I only sporadically update, but
Oh,
that's one of the things on my website. It is on
gotcha.
YouTube, but it's like they're like you can't find them on YouTube. It's just linked in my blog.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, it starts with like the very beginning where we thought that everything was benign and I didn't have cancer, and then all of a sudden takes that hard left turn at one point in one of those videos to oh shit, actually I do. And yeah, so it was like kind of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I never updated it once I said I was starting radiation. I honestly just had forgotten about it, and then I just so it gets all the way up to the point where I'm starting radiation and that. But
You should do maybe a little update on there
I
of like,
should. I really should. I really should. But yeah, all that to
oh,
say
just put
though.
this on there. Just link this.
Oh
Put
yeah,
this
there
on.
you go. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that to say is like I'm more than happy to talk with people, and I find it therapeutic. I like to be able to help people. I mean, that's just like why we do what we do, right? And so I don't ever want
Mhm.
anyone, like if anybody has questions or even concerns about themselves, or maybe you got that call back and you need to go back for that follow-up mammogram and you just need somebody to vent to who will get it, like feel free. Like it's happened to me already multiple times in the last
Mhm.
6 or 8 months or whatever it's been. So I don't, if you ever need somebody, I'm happy to be your somebody.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, all right. Thank you for sharing your story.
Of
Thank you
course.
for and I'm glad that you brought this up to do this.
Yeah.
Because I probably it is what I don't know when I thought of it, but yeah, I think it's awesome when I love hearing people's stories, and I think it's definitely appreciated. And even just the awareness alone, I hope people took some
Mhm.
golden nuggets from it, even just for themselves, or maybe
Yeah.
nudge them a little bit more into myself, trying getting that next
Yeah.
little nudge, little nudge,
Yep.
little nudge,
Yep.
So yeah.
Agree.
So yes, thank you,
Of
Kristin, for
course.
sharing
Thank
with all the
you.
bobbers
I
your
appreciate
story.
you giving me just give me the opportunity. Thank you for being open to it and all the things. So I know, it'll make me cry.
Okay, we
All
love
right.
you.
Bye, you bobbers. Thank
Thank you,
you.
bobbers. Bye for now.